This is a video tutorial on using Google Sketchup and Match Photo for energy auditors in the Weatherization Assistance program. It's a very useful tool for collecting data on surface areas of a building envelope. And the most important thing when you start off is having good pictures that show the entire house without cropping it out. Sometimes you have things that are being blocked, like the front door here, but you can, if you are careful, especially on the pictures of the corners of the house, you want to be able to see three corners, 1, 2, 3, and have both sides pretty much take up the full picture. Here's an excellent picture. We'll probably start off with this one because on this we can see the whole house. Nothing has been cropped out. We can see all of the windows and doors on these two sides. So this will give us a very good starting point. I have taken some basic measurements of the house, and so I measured across the front, and I can see that it's 32.5 feet, and I used my rolling ruler for measuring the side, and it's 31 feet 10 inches. We're going to call it 32 feet. So now I'm going to go ahead and open up SketchUp and make a rectangle that's 32.5 feet by 32 feet. So I will click on my rectangle tool here, start at the origin, start to pull it out, and now I'm just going to type 32.5 feet, comma, space, 32, enter. But I didn't do 32 feet. So let's start over. So 32.5 feet, comma, space, 32 feet, enter, and that's better. And we can make sure that the orientation is correct by measuring from corner to corner, 32.5, so that's the front of my house. And now I'm going to make it three-dimensional. So I'll use my push-pull tool and start to pull it up, and then I'm going to type 8 feet, enter. So now we have the basic overall dimensions of the house, and I can start to use Match Photo to be able to create this house and with its windows and bump out and everything. So I've added Match Photo to the default tray. If it's not there, you can just go in under Window and Default Tray and put a check mark next to it there. So I'm gonna just click on the little plus sign here and I'll navigate to my photo that I want to use, which was this one, and it loads the photo in. And what we have is the origin, the axis and the origin that we can move around. And we have 2 red lines and 2 green lines, and the red lines are we can move those around by grabbing the line, and it moves the whole line, or we can just move the ends, and we want to line these up on a parallel horizontal line on this face. We'll use this one, and I like for the two red lines to be pretty far apart. I wouldn't want to put my next red line down here. I want to put it, I like to use the ridge of the roof because it's usually as far away from the lower line as I can get. And the same on the sides. I'm going to orient these lines on parallel horizontal lines that are relatively far apart for accuracy. And so now we can zoom in and fine-tune these. We can really get quite accurate down to the pixel here if we want. And I'm using my wheel on my scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out. So now I'm going to set my origin a little bit better, and I want my origin to be on the corner of the house, and I want to see the bottom of this plane, this front surface. So my red axis, I want it to be at the bottom of the door, so the floor level. So I'm going to have the door and the corner in my frame, and I'm going to grab the origin and move it to where I'm lined up with the bottom of the door and the corner of the house. So now my origin is set, and we need to scale it. So to scale, you can grab the red axis, and you'll see that it turns to two opposing arrows there, and that means that we can move the scale like that. And ideally, this would line up with that corner, but it hasn't, and that's because of imperfections in the way that we've put our red lines and our green lines. Which, by the way, you'll notice these parallel lines are pointing to vanishing points. So one to the left and one to the right. And we can also move those vanishing points to micro-adjust things. They're a little bit more fine-tuned than moving the lines themselves, the indicator lines. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm a little bit long on the back here, I'm going to move my red vanishing point out a little bit. And you see it actually moves my red lines as well. So keep an eye on those. I'm going to move that out a little bit, and I'm going to take my green one and I'm going to move it in a little bit, just a bit. And now I can go back in and grab my adjust my scale. Let's see here. It's I can also use my blue line to adjust the scale. And that looks like we're right on. Might want to adjust this one out and up just a little bit. And the reason that I say up is because I could see that it wasn't parallel to the corner. My corner was off a little bit. It wasn't. Let me show you what I'm talking about. It was down like that, and so you can see it's right on there, but it's too short there. And you can also see my red line here is nowhere near parallel, so I'm going to adjust this back. So get that in there, really fine tune it. And we're looking really good here. And back here, I might just pull this vanishing point in a little bit. And so, yep, that looks really good. Looks really good. So I'm going to hit done. And so that's the first orientation. Now let's do the opposite corner. So to rotate, what I'm doing is I'm pushing down on the wheel, and then of course zooming, and I'll get more or less the orientation from my opposite corner, and import the next photo. So that photo is, which orientation is that? This one here. So the opposite corner. Now here you can see again I have my, now I can't see the corner, but I'm going to kind of guess where it is more or less. And that'll be easier after we put our green lines in place. And I want these to be fairly far apart if possible. And our red lines, we'll go ahead, and we can't really see the ridge line too well, but we can kind of make it out up there. And we'll put this one over here. And it looks pretty good. So, move our origin and scale it. So, make it more or less the right size. I've got about the same amount of offset here as I do over here. So now I can just move this over, and that should be about right. Okay. And I can't see the bottom of the door back here, but I'm guessing more I'm looking up here in this corner. And we can adjust that later. So let's call that good. And so, of course, the house isn't rectangular. It has this bump out on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pencil tool, and I'm going to start on the corner over here. Click, and then I'm going to draw a line on the bottom, and I'm looking at the length down in the lower left hand corner there, and we'll make it 10 feet. I like getting on even feet or half feet. So draw a line up there, and now I can use my push-pull tool and move this back, and I'm looking at the corner of the house that's closest to me, and we'll make it 6 foot 6 inches there. All right. So now, when I orbit around, I can see the house. this house, the main house is a concrete block house, and the bump out is a frame-built addition. So I'm going to separate these two with so that I can measure their areas separately. And now whenever I click on a surface, in my entity info up here, it gives me the square footage of that surface. So let's open up Weatherization Assistant now. And in Weatherization Assistant, start off by clicking on your agency. And under the Client tab, you can create your new client. And you want to say what kind of house it is, and you'll fill in all of the information about the client here. Number of occupants, so on and so forth. Then under Audits, we will create a new neat, and we'll want to fill in all of this information. We're south of Lexington, Kentucky, so we'll use Lexington. We have one condition story, and for the square feet of the house, we'll go back to our model here. I'm going to click on the main body of the house, hold down the Shift key, and click on the addition. A total of 894 square feet. So now I can go back to Weatherization Assistant and type in 894. And then go on to the shell of the house, wall code tab, wall 1, wall type. It's a concrete block, and the exterior type is it has metal siding on it. It is exposed to the outside. The orientation is south, and the gross area is 260 feet. 260. Measure 1. The existing insulation, there's no insulation in this wall, and no place to put any. So none. So that's our first wall. We can just copy this for wall 2 and change the orientation. So we'll move around to the east wall, and that section of wall, click on it, is 204 square feet. So 204, and then we can go on to wall 3. So we'll copy this. Wall 3 is a platform frame, and it has wood siding. It's exposed to the outside. The orientation is still east. The area of that section of wall is 52 square feet. 52. It has fiberglass batt insulation, R11, and so we're not adding any to it either. So I'm going to skip wall 4 and copy this and make wall 5, which is exactly the same except for its orientation. It's on the west side. And now I'll go back, I'll copy this and make wall 4, which is on the north side. So it's So wall 4 is 80 square feet. And now wall 44, wall 4 is 80 square feet. Now I'm going to go back to wall 2, which was my east side, and I'm going to copy that and make that wall 7, which was my west wall. Everything else is the same about the east wall. And I'll copy that and go back and make wall 6, which is my north wall, and it is 180 square feet. So now my walls are done. I'm going to skip windows and doors for now, and I'm going to go on and do my unfinished attics. So click in my attic code tab, attic type, unfloored, joist spacing, 16 inches, area. So now we can go back, and attic 1 is 829 square feet, 829. The roof color, it is light, but we're still calling it normal or weathered. Existing insulation, we have blown cellulose in there, and it is 15 inches deep. So that would we would look at measure 1 for that, and we'll see if it wants to add any more. And then the attic on the bump out, we'll just click new here, tab. It is also unfloored, that is 16 inch spacing. The area is 65 square feet, 65. Roof color again is normal. The existing insulation in there is fiberglass batts, and the depth is 5.5 inches. So we're going to ask it to consider measure 2 for that attic, and we would put blown fiberglass on that. So now we need to do the foundations. So the foundation of the main body is F1. Foundation type, it is non-conditioned. Measure 1. Area is, again, the same as the attic, 829. There is no insulation in the floor. We would consider adding fiberglass batts. The floor joists are 2x8s. Oops, 2x8s. And the perimeter to insulate. So we'll go back to our SketchUp, and now I'm going to just click on the line here, hold down the shift key, click on that line. So to add, you have to let up on the shift key to be able to orbit like this. Hold down the shift key again, click that one, and click that one, and that gives us perimeter to insulate. Obviously we wouldn't need to insulate that little piece there. And that's 106 feet, linear feet. So 106. The foundation height, the wall is 2 feet, and 25% of it is exposed. The perimeter is the same, 106. The existing R value, I've sprayed some 2-part foam down there, about an inch, so we'll call it R 3.5. And added insulation type would be rigid foam board. And here it would be fiberglass bats. Got all of those in. I'm going to do the foundation on the addition, the little bump out. Tab. It is an uninsulated slab, and it is 65 square feet, just like the attic. 65. And the perimeter is, again, we'll just click on the line, shift, click, click, 23 linear feet. 23. Okay, now we're going to add in the windows and doors. So we've got to draw those in on the SketchUp. So we'll click on our tab up here. This is our first tab, was the first match photo that we did. And now with the rectangle tool, we can draw on these faces. And I like to start with the window that is closest to me because I can be the most accurate with it. And I'll zoom in. And remember, you're on the outside face. These windows are set in, so I'm going to use the corners on the outside face as my, and it looks like somewhere something like that, more or less. And so I've drawn one, and I know they're all the same size except for these two over here, but so what I'm going to do now, since I've drawn one, is I'm going to select that, and I'm going to use my move tool, hold down or push the control key, and that copies. And I'm going to copy it from this point on the edge to moving along. I like to use the edge because it keeps everything in line. Right there. Again, I'll have to hit control again to copy that down to there, and hit control again, hit copy, and go down to there, and again hit control, copy from that edge, and I'm going to go over, and here it automatically lines up on my on that face. And let's go ahead and put in this door. And so and let's put in these other windows over here. Let's see here. There's one. And they're both the same, so I'll select that. Use the move tool, control, move it from that point on the edge over to there. And I know that I have another window this size in the bathroom. So again, I'm going to control, copy it from that point, and now I'm going to go back to the back. And here's my bathroom window. And grab one of these windows and copy it, control, go back to this match photo, in there. Control. Control. And let's see, I have a third window here, which is a different size. Third size window. And so there's that. And then I have the two doors. So I'm just going to copy my front door. So I know that they're all the same size. Control. And we'll go back here. Put in that door. And that door. And there we are. Now, we've got all of our windows and doors, and we can use the tape measure tool to measure them. So these main windows are 2 feet 4, so 28 inches, by 4 foot 6, so 54. 28 by 54. So back into Weatherization Assistant, window code, well, let's see, 28 by 54. And I like to use cardinal orientations for my windows, so these first ones are south, so south 1. Window type, it is a slider. A slider. The frame type is vinyl. Glazing type is double pane low E. Interior shading, I have blinds or shades. Exterior shading, we'll say 20%. Leakiness, they're tight. The wall code is wall 1, and we could put in 4 here, but I like to use a separate window code for each one, so I'm going to say 1. Retrofit options, evaluate all. So that's our first window, and so I just need to copy it. S2, copy. S3, copy. S4, and now I'm going to copy that, and I'll do my east windows. So east 1 is on wall 2, and east 2 is also on wall 2, but it is a different size. So we'll go back to our SketchUp and measure these. And they are 2 foot 2, so 26 by 38. 26 by 38. 26. 38. That's on wall 2. Copy that. East 3. And now let's do our bathroom window. So we'll copy this one and call this north 2. And it is on wall 6. And so let's go back to our first window. Well, let's go ahead and do a go ahead and copy this for our window on the utility room. and that would be north 1. And it is a slider, and it is wood, but it is single pane with a metal storm, and it has nothing on the inside of it, and it is medium, and it's on wall 4. And its size, we'll go back here and measure it now. Is 2.5 feet. So 30 inches by 40 inches. So 30 inches by 40 inches. And we're on the right wall. Okay, so I'm going to again go back to my first window, south 1, copy that, and I'm going to call this one north 3. And it is on wall 6. And this is also this one is wood or vinyl and single pane with a metal storm, and it has blinds or shades, and it is medium, and it's the same measurement. It's on wall 6, so we'll copy that and do west 1, and it's on wall 7, and it's the same, and we'll copy that and do west 2, which is also the same. So those are our windows. Now our doors. Door code D1. The front door is a solid core wood, and it's an 18 square foot door, and we know that these doors are 2'8". So if it were 3 feet, it would be 20. And basically only 2 door sizes, so 18 or 20. Storm door condition, there's none. Leakiness, it's medium. So 3'8" is 2'8" is 32, and regular door height is 80 inches. Wall code 1, number 1. Door 2 is also a solid core wood, and it is on wall 6, and it has an adequate storm door. And door 3 is again a solid core 18 square foot no storm door, and it is on wall 5. Okay, and that's it. That gives us all of our surface areas for the entire house. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a drawing from the SketchUp that will show anybody looking at the audit what windows and doors and walls we're talking about. So I'm going to start off by taking off the roof, and so that we can get a good view of everything. Also going to get rid of the axis, don't need it, and try and find a point of view where I can see every wall and every window, and make it fill my screen as much as possible. And if you want, you can either use a X-ray view or use these dotted lines to show what's a little hidden. I like it like that. And now I will hit print screen, the button on the top, usually right next to F12, and that copies this screen to my clipboard. Now I'm going to open Paint, Microsoft Paint, and I'll simply hit Control V.